used to be in the position on the other side of the studio in terms of getting a project made, and now you're on the producer side making the movie.
One of the reasons I enjoyed being an executive was because I came at it from a filmmaker's standpoint. One of the hard jobs of being an executive inside a big corporation is you go into a staff meeting and you're the advocate of the filmmaker, and the company thinks that you're, a hippie who doesn't understand the value of money and business. And then you go sit with the filmmakers and you try to help them see the way that the company thinks, and you're a soulless corporate drone who doesn't understand the value of art. And so you were sort of always in that position, whether you're low level or high level, you're always sort of two places. To step over onto the producing side, which I've been doing now for 10 years, a little less, I find it to be very helpful. And there's a lot of language which companies don't, which is coded. They don't know that it's coded, because for them, it's how people inside an organization speak to each other. Same way government agencies speak with a certain language and whatever.
Wait, I want to ask you, the language you're talking about is at the studio side?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think that there's and it takes a second to figure it out. So when I went to make a movie at Paramount, I had to learn the language that they were using and what the unspoken things were between the lines. And once you figure that out, then you can really be a good partner to them and try to figure out how everybody can get what they want, what they need. With Disney, it was very easy for me to do that because I'd worked there for so long and I knew so many of the people, and I knew what the studio and what those executives were having to deal with in regards to the rest of the company. What were the pressure points for them? And so it was perhaps a little easier for me to help guide the movie through the system so that they got what they needed. But also, and more importantly, is that we were making the movie that we wanted to make, and that Niki had all the support she needed to get where she needed to get to.
Sure. Was this one of these projects that in the scheme of things was quick to get made, or was this one of these things that it's been a long journey?
It's been a journey.
Got it.
A journey.
Got it. When did you start on the project?
To be honest, I don't even remember the date, but it was 4 years ago, I think, 5 years ago now.
Oh, that's actually not that bad. They've been working on Bill and Ted 3 for like 50 years.
That is true. That is true. It took them 10 years to make. Yeah, there's a lot of movies that work a lot longer, but it just felt like we had to delay the start of the movie due to casting and weather and a bunch of stuff. So we had this sort of like rush to start, and then like a 6-month layback, and then shot the movie. Then we had all this time to post it, and then we had even more time. So it just felt like it's felt like we've been talking about Mulan for a long time.
During the development process, how early on did you know this was not going to involve songs?
From the beginning, from the get, we knew that there'd be music, but fundamentally, the idea was to go back to the ballad and to pay homage to the animated classic and the audience that loves it, but to really look at the whole breadth of how these Mulan stories have been presented over the last 1,500 years. And because the animated movie already existed, I think what we found really exciting was, how do we use this as the foundation on which to build a big Disney branded action adventure movie? How do you make a David Lean movie or a Kurosawa movie or a Jean Yimo movie with the Disney brand? And so we thought that in order to accomplish that and to get the kind of emotional grounding we wanted, it should not be a break into song musical.
I'm imagining you obviously have many versions of the script along the way. Was there ever really dramatic changes in the script, or was it always pretty much what we got, what I ended up seeing?
Well, I think it constantly improved. I think the characters became more distinctly drawn. Um, More importantly, I think when Niki became involved, she really refocused everything on the world through the eyes of Mulan. And every decision that was made, everything that we were doing was about how do we put this in her? How do we focus on her journey through all of this? And so that was reflected in changes to the script, not massive like, oh, there used to be there used to be a set piece on the Great Wall that we took out, which would be anachronistic anyways. But there wasn't big, massive plot changes, but there were changes in terms of how the characters are interacted and where we focus the energy of certain sequences. In terms of the production, that really is reflected in the approach to the action. So we always talked about shooting the action from the inside out. So yes, it's a humongous set piece with armies coming together, but what's the important part of that? The important part is, what is Mulan's place in that, and what is her perception of what's going on around her? And so telling her story inside of the big set piece. And those two things, I think, they didn't change the script or change the story, but they really changed the approach and ultimately, I think, the emotion and the feeling that's evoked by the finished film.
Obviously, you've had a lot of experience with test screenings. What was it like for you test screening Mulan for the first time, or the times you did it? And what did you learn from those screenings?
Well, I learned that the audience loves this story, that it just resonates no matter how you tell it, whether you tell it with songs or you tell it with big battles. It's a really powerful story that sort of connects universally. I think one of the interesting things that came up in the testing was how strongly men and boys responded to the movie, which we always assumed that they would enjoy it, but we always thought it might be a little softer because of the female lead, but it was not appreciably so, which I took as a really good sign. I learned people really, really like Mushu, and if they are surprised that there's no Mushu, it's not always their happiest moment. But I think before the marketing materials got out and before people knew what it was a little jarring for people to see. They thought that they were going to go see Beauty and the Beast, and they saw a big epic action battle movie. So I think that was jarring for the initial test audiences. But once there was a trailer out, once there were materials and people saw what it was, then there was a lot of excitement.
Did you guys often with test screenings, you learn what's working, what's not working. What changes did you guys tweak, if you will, after all the test screenings, or maybe nothing?
No big story changes. The biggest takeaway was that people liked Mulan, that they just really responded to Yifei and they wanted to be with her more. So, in those, as you're looking at the balance of the movie, any opportunity we had to put her on front and center, like they just really wanted to see it. So they liked her journey and they liked being with her.
How long was your first cut compared to the finished film?
1 hour and a half longer, I think.
Now let's clarify. That's like an assembly cut.
That's the assembly, yeah.
All the footage. So, but there must have been a cut after the assembly that, whether it be an early director's cut with, a lot more footage.
I would say about 45 minutes.
Now, was that 45 minutes that you would be happy for people to see, or that's like rough 45 minutes?
That's a rough 45 minutes. Like all things, I think. Once you get it up, the movie starts telling you what it is too. That there's what you do to the movie, and then there's sort of what the movie starts telling you it is, and what relationships resonate, and how much you need of certain storytelling elements, how much you need how much action you need, all of those. So it's always a balance, and I love the cut where it is. I think it plays really well. There's nothing that I can think of that there's certainly nothing I would take out. I don't think there's any. I mean, listen, there's some great images. It's one of the reasons why I was once told by a producer never let the editor on set, because you don't want them to know how hard something was to do, right? You want them to just judge the footage in the room, what works in the movie, what doesn't, because there's shots where I'm like, oh man, we really hoofed it to do, like, that was expensive, or that was really hard to do, or man, was it cold that day. And you're like, boy, I wish that was in the movie, not because we needed it, but because it was so much work to get it. There's probably a couple of those, and there's some like stunning images that we just didn't need those scenes, but that were really beautiful.
What was the last sequence you removed from the film before picture locking, and why?
It's a really good question. We didn't remove a whole sequence. You know what? Actually, it was the last thing we changed was additive. We added more action to the last sort of confrontation, and we added more of the guys in the squad, because the audience really just wanted more of them. They had this great emotional. There was both a big action and a big emotional ending for Mulan. And by the time we get to the third act of the movie, they've really invested in her relationship with the guys, and particularly with Hong Wei, played by Yoson An. And they've really invested in that. So there's, they kind of wanted to see a little more of them in the end. And so we accommodated that.
I guess I'm curious, are you going to release deleted scenes for people that are fans of the movie?
I don't know. That's really a Disney question. I don't know. We have all the footage, but we haven't discussed that. A good idea at some point.
So you're like, maybe we are.
Yeah, maybe we should get on that right away.
So it's coming out on Disney Plus, which is obviously not where it originally was going to go. And I view this as almost a test bubble for the entire streaming industry for like, because it's a big budget Disney movie. This is not, a $15 million film. And the real question is, will people pay $30 to watch this brand new movie on a platform that, they're paying for, but like to get this big movie first, you pay for it. Sort of like, what's your sort of, I know you produced it, you obviously want everyone to watch, but is it weird for you to sort of be this test bubble? Because if this works, I can see Disney like with the Pixar movie Soul, or if this works, this could be, they might say, well, Black Widow, look how many people paid for Mulan, we can possibly do this with Black Widow.
Well, I think the thing that's somewhat disappointing to me is the story about the movie in a lot of ways has become about distribution, which, nobody works 5 years and stands out in the freezing cold rain and whatever at 4 a.m. because they're really excited about reinventing distribution models. I mean, maybe somebody does, but not me. That said, you're right. The thing I'm most excited about is getting it out in front of people, because I think Niki made an amazing movie. I think Yifei turned in a tremendous performance. I think every single department head did awards quality work. Mandy Walker as a cinematographer, I mean, she should be offered every movie made from now on, as far as I'm concerned. Bina Dagler with costumes, Grant Major with production design. Everybody just did amazing work, and I want people to see it. When it comes to what it bodes for the future, I don't know. Netflix is spending some pretty hefty dollars on their original features. So it's not like we're an outlier in terms of the size of a spend necessarily. I think for me, part of the difference is we were just designed for a theatrical release. We have the equity in the IP. We have big stars globally. You know, it's sort of custom made for a global day and date release. So it's different to do it on Disney Plus, or well, the hybrid. We're doing it theatrically in a large number of territories, and where Disney Plus is, we're doing it on the premium video on demand. I think that it's just, I don't like to look at it as an experiment, but I think we're in this very unique moment where I know families don't necessarily feel comfortable going to a movie theater right now. And I know in our house, we're constantly looking for ways to create an event on our couch. You know, we've been stuck inside with a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, which has been great in many ways, but it's also kind of tough. Like this is the time when you want to be taking them to the zoo and you want to be giving your kids these amazing, memorable moments. And unfortunately, it's harder and harder to do than it was. So for me, obviously this is different because the kids have seen the movie and whatever, but like the idea of being able to have a big movie night, watch a big movie, a new movie, an exciting movie, on your couch with your family. If there's more than three, if there's 3 of you or more, then it's a bargain, as opposed to going to the theater itself. I think there's something really kind of great about it. I hope that people watch it. I know that over the lifetime of the movie, a lot of people will watch it, but I hope that it's people are able to have fun and enjoy and connect as a family and still have a communal film going experience. And you know, every day, sadly, the movie's themes become more and more sort of relevant. Like it's even shifted. Like originally it was like, well, this is about someone finding their place and how do you overcome all these great obstacles? And now, in my mind, even, it was always about family. And now it's even more so. Like that part of it is resonating to me even more because we're trying to figure out how to be parents and how to be kids and how to be, you know, partners with all of the craziness that's going on. And it's an example of someone who does it not easily, but does it with grace and style. So I hope people watch it. I hope they take away.
I'm sure people are going to watch. I mean, you guys made something that I believe families will really enjoy. And also it is important to see stories, representation matters. And this is, everything about this is, I'm very happy Disney made this movie. But I am curious because the industry is changing so radically over the pandemic, over COVID, that I'm very curious. How are people, you know what I mean? People who are.
Absolutely. Well, I think here's the thing. I think that the pandemic is accelerating trends that were already happening, and it just made them come about a lot. It made people more willing to try new things and to sort of discard tradition in order to be a little more dynamic. I am a true blue believer in the theatrical film going experience. I think to watch a big action movie on the big screen, there's nothing like it. I think to watch a comedy in a room full of people, I can't even imagine. There are some of my favorite moments in my life are watching the audience reaction to a movie, whether it's Star Wars Episode 4 or whether it's another big action movie, or quite honestly, like just watching an audience laugh. It's just so great. I can't imagine that goes away. However, I think the whole model is going to become a lot more dynamic, and they'll start tailoring the distribution to the material itself. So whether it's a theatrical window, or a simultaneous window with streaming, or a streaming release with a theatrical window after the fact, I think that there's just no limit to the ways that they're going to use it. I think it creates a challenge for creative teams.
I'm going to stop here and just say congrats on Mulan.
Thank you.
I really do hope it's a huge hit and people, watch it and that everyone's happy. And I do appreciate you sharing some of those stories about, early days at Disney and making, some of those projects.
Well, great. Thank you, Stephen. It's great to talk to you. I love sitting and talking with film fans. It's always great.